Hello and welcome to Business Ethics Online. My name is Craig Schrotlin. I'll be your instructor for the next 15 weeks as we maneuver through the minefield called business ethics. Sometimes considered a bit of an oxymoron. However, business and ethics can go together, can be profitable, and can be beneficial to our culture. We'll look at examples of business ethics gone awry as well as business ethics that work well. So I encourage you to get involved. Online classes are a little bit more work, take a little bit of extra time, but can be very beneficial. So we'll do our best to make it a good learning experience for you. On the screen, you see the homepage to our class. Mine may look just a little bit different as an instructor as opposed to a student, but I want to just point out a couple of things. There are some things that are very important to an online class that make it successful. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that that is functioning with our class. So the first thing I want to look at is this thing called activities. If you look at the assignments, it's going to list all of your assignments for you. And I live 55 miles out of Denver, and so my internet isn't always as fast as everyone else's. So there's a Dropbox. Notice that there's a due date on everything. Everything will give you a due date. Please make sure that you are aware of when everything is due. There's the discussions that we're going to look at here. And I want to talk about discussions for a little bit because those are very, very important. So on week one, there's two discussions. There's one called biographies. It is graded, which says includes assessment. And the second one is called gray matters, and I give some information here, and then you address those. Two things are important. First of all, this is a graded assignment, and you have to post before you can read any of your classmates' posts. Okay, so you can't read your classmates' posts and say, oh, I like the way they answer that question. You're going to have to answer your own. So keep that in mind. Also remember that each one of these is graded separately. So there's 2 discussion grades per week. And please keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, that your initial post this week, week 1, is due by Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. After this week, every other week, it's due by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. Also this week, our discussions will close on Saturday night. Beginning next week and through the remainder of the semester, our discussions close on Friday night. Okay, so those are 2 very, very important things that you have to understand. So keep this in mind. You must post a minimum of 4 times, and you must post on a minimum of 3 different days. Okay, if you think that you can come into class and post all your posts on Friday and say, yeah, I posted my 4 posts, I'm good. It's not going to be good because you will not get you will pass the class, but you'll not get a good grade in class. Okay. The 50% of your class grade, a little over 50%, is based on discussions. Okay. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that, you must post on 3 different days. So if you start your first post on Wednesday to meet your deadline, you have to post Thursday and Friday. You can start on Monday and post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and you may post more than 4 times, and you may post as many times as you'd like. So having said that, discussions are important. We'll talk more about them as we go through, but please make sure that you're aware of what needs to be done. Okay, there's quizzes, and so the quizzes will show up. Once again, you can get those. There's a quiz not every week, but quite a few weeks throughout the semester. If we go to course content, I want to look at a couple things here that are very important. On course content, there's a few things. Obviously, your syllabus. This is important. This is something that the school has mandated, and I think it's a good information for you to read. We have your syllabus. We have your schedule. There's a graded assignment checklist, so you can actually print it out and check off that you've done all of your work that's required. The online discussion guidelines. There's a reading journal that's due 13 out of the 15 weeks. There's a guideline in your syllabus. There's also here. All of these things are as well in your syllabus except for the checklist. And then there's also information for your final paper, or the big paper. And there's a few short writing assignments that are also due throughout the semester. So please keep this in mind. I want to look at a couple things, and there's a fly flying around my head, so you have to help me out or work with me a little bit here. I want to look at a couple other things real quick. The first thing would be the course schedule. And so I want to bring it up over here. The course schedule basically tells you week 1, your discussion post is due, or your discussions. Your first post is due by 11:59 on Thursday. Notice on week 2, it's due by 11:59 on Wednesday. On Wednesday, and you'll see it all the way down there. This tells you the day the class starts, the day it ends. This tells you what chapter we're on. This tells you whether a reading journal is required or not. So I guess there's only 12 out of 13 that are due. And then also notice, please, that the chapters switch order a little bit through here because I like it better that way. And I guess since I was the instructor, I could decide what we could do there. All right, so just kind of keep this in mind. I print this out. I make sure I use it. It's a pretty important piece of material. Second thing is that, and this kind of aligns with that, but they've asked that we create the checklist. So here you go. This tells you when it's due. Your biography discussion is due, your initial post, by 11:15 p.m. on Thursday, the 23rd. This one here says that your gray matters is the same, so you can check, did I complete it, yes or no? Okay, if you didn't complete it, put a no, right? So keep that in mind because it's very, very important as we go through here. This is your discussion, or your reading journals due on the 29th. Your discussions are both due on the 29th. And you have a quiz that's due on Sunday. So everything's due. Discussions are completed by Friday night. All other assignments are due 11:59 p.m. on Sunday because Monday starts the new week. And so this goes through all the weeks, and you can see them right there. This will give you a chance to be able to just make sure you're on point all the way through the semester. So let me get rid of those because I need to get them out of the way. And I want to talk about the reading journal for just a moment. So the reading journal basically is your thoughts. Okay, do not give me an outline. I do not want an outline. I will not give you full points for an outline. I'll give you like 3 out of 10. I read the chapter. I know what's in it. I don't need an outline. I need your thoughts on the chapter. So read through it. Get an overall understanding of the material of the chapter. Make notes as you go. Do whatever you need to do. And then keep those things in mind. And then write a journal based on your reading. Okay? What's your impressions? Move towards specific observations and analysis. When we talk about, corporate social responsibility, what's your thought on a corporate social responsibility? How much responsibility does a corporation have towards the environment? How much responsibility does it have towards the community that it's in? Towards the schools? Should corporations be involved in investing money in the schools of the community in which they're located? Those kinds of things. Look at the following questions. So I have several questions down here. What's your impression? What particular passage or details stood out to you? Why were they important? I want to know why. Okay, so a lot of the journal is about why. Tell me why you think it's important to list that A, B, C, or D, right? So give me the information. And then what's going to happen is, how does this relate to things we've been discussing in the class, other units? How does it relate to the themes of the course? How does it relate to life? Maybe in your own work experience? How does that relate? And at the end, what questions do you have? Put down questions, those kinds of things. And I need a minimum of 4 paragraphs, a maximum of 8. No more than 2 pages double spaced, but you better give me at least 1 page. Okay? If you don't give me a page, you're not going to get full points. I have students that go over that. I'm not going to downgrade you for giving me 3 or 4 pages. I'm not requiring 3 or 4 pages. Okay, so, but if you can't give me a page, then you're really not into the class. And so then what I want you to do is take the information from your journal. Do not post your journal in the UB the Prof. So weeks 2 through 14, I believe, there's a discussion thread called UB the Prof. In that discussion thread, you're going to create the discussion question, not me. So I've created a discussion question for every week. On most of those weeks, you're going to create it. So what you're going to do is you're going to use some information from these things right here, and you're going to use that information in creating your discussion thread post. So you need to ask a question. Don't just say, oh, I thought this was important. That's great, because I'm going to come back and say, well, why was it important? Okay, I want to know why you think it's important enough to make a question out of it, and give us something that we have to think about. Don't just throw out a question out there that's like, did you enjoy chapter 15? Okay, because my response will be, I enjoyed it, but your grade won't, because that's not what I don't need something. I want something specific from that chapter that does not relate to or is not identical to the question I pose. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, you can always email me, you can text me, you can call me. All of that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I just want to make sure that you understand why the reading journal is so important. And so keep that in mind as you do the reading journal. One thing I want to say about the discussions is you're also graded on how many you read. So you can't come in, read 2 people's discussions, post yours, read 3 or 4 people's discussions, post an answer to each one of those discussions, said, hey, I did it. I'm awesome. I'm great. Awesome. Cool. I learned. Because you didn't. Okay. You met your quota and you put forth as little effort as possible. If I'm truly going to learn from an online class, I have to be involved in the discussion of an online class. Okay. So you'll be graded based on the number of discussions that you read. Okay. You have to read at least 60% of your classmates' discussions to get full points for the reading portion of your discussions. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So I'm not asking you to read 100 of them. I read every single discussion thread post that's out there because I'm the teacher. I have to do that. But I'm setting the example. If I can do it, then I expect you to as well. So I encourage you to be a part because that makes the learning process more relevant and real for all of us. Okay, my first experience in an online class was when I was working on my MBA program. I took an online class. The week I took it, it was a week-long class. The week I took it, my instructor was in Cancun. Okay. She actually showed up and posted something in discussion twice in the entire week. Everybody in the class, except for 3 of us, didn't post until the very last day of posting, and everybody posted in the last 2 hours that the discussion thread was open. Okay. It was the worst learning experience I've ever encountered. So as a result of that, my discussions and my class is based a little bit differently on the fact that we've come here to learn. You're paying money to learn. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about the questions. One thing I wanted to also suggest is use some of the questions you have about your reading for your UB the Prof. Okay? If you're saying, I don't understand this point, or I don't get this, I want you to do that. The other thing I want you to do is once somebody's responded to you or several people have responded, at least come back in and talk about some of the things that they've said and how they relate to your reasons for writing the question. And if you do that, actually UP the Prof becomes some of the better discussions in this class. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'll admit that every one of us has different idiosyncrasies. We all have things that we like and dislike. And so I tend to focus on things that are down my wheelhouse. I like the UB the Prof because it forces me outside my wheelhouse and it makes me think outside the box. So hopefully you'll think outside the box. I'm looking forward to a great semester, and I think we can have a lot of fun. So as a result of that, happy trails, and let's have a great semester.